Imagine an entire army frozen in fear, not because they lacked swords, not because they lacked numbers, but because one giant stood in the valley, mocking them day after day. For 40 days, no one dared to fight him. Then one day, a shepherd boy arrived with nothing but lunch for his brothers and a faith strong enough to face a giant. In the days when Israel was still learning how to trust God as a nation, a terrifying threat rose from the land of the Philistines. Two armies stood facing each other across the valley of Elah. Israel on one side of the hill and the Philistines on the other side. Every morning and every evening, a warrior stepped forward from the Philistine camp, and his appearance alone drained courage from every Israelite heart. His name was Goliath of Gath. Goliath was no ordinary soldier. The Bible tells us he was over 9 feet tall, clad in bronze armor that weighed more than many men. His helmet gleamed in the sun. His spear was as thick as a weaver's beam, and his voice thundered across the valley like a challenge no one could answer. For 40 days, Goliath mocked Israel, shouting insults at their army and, more painfully, at their God. "Choose a man to fight me," he roared. "If he kills me, we will serve you. But if I kill him, you will serve us." Each time he spoke, fear spread like fire. King Saul, though tall and strong himself, trembled. The soldiers hid. No one stepped forward, not because they lacked weapons, but because they lacked faith. Far from the battlefield, in the quiet hills of Bethlehem, a young shepherd named David was tending his father's sheep. He was the youngest of 8 sons, overlooked and underestimated. David was not trained for war. He had no armor, no sword, no reputation. But he had something far more powerful, an unshakable trust in God. One day, David's father Jesse sent him to the battlefield with food for his older brothers and to bring back news of their safety. David arrived just as Goliath stepped forward again, hurling insults at Israel. David listened in disbelief, not at the giant's size, but at his words. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine?" David asked, "that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The soldiers stared at him. Some laughed. Others warned him to be quiet. Even David's own brother rebuked him, accusing him of pride and curiosity. But David could not ignore what he heard. To him, this was not just a military challenge, it was a spiritual one. Word of David's bold words reached King Saul, who sent for him. Standing before the king, David said words no trained warrior dared to speak. "Let no one lose heart because of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul looked at David and saw only a boy. "You are not able," he said. "You are young, and he has been a warrior since his youth." But David told Saul about the lions and bears he had faced while protecting his sheep, how God had delivered him every time. "The same God who rescued me then," David said, "will rescue me now." Reluctantly, Saul agreed. He dressed David in royal armor, placed a helmet on his head, and gave him a sword. But David could barely move. He had never worn such things. He removed them all. Instead, David walked toward the battlefield with only what he knew: a shepherd's staff, a sling, and 5 smooth stones from a stream. When Goliath saw David, he was insulted. "Am I a dog," he sneered, "that you come at me with sticks?" He cursed David by his gods and threatened to kill him, but David did not flinch. "You come against me with sword and spear, David replied, his voice steady. "But I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today the Lord will deliver you into my hands." The valley fell silent. David ran toward Goliath. He reached into his bag, took a stone, placed it in his sling, and released it with perfect aim. The stone struck Goliath on the forehead, sinking in. The giant staggered and fell face first to the ground. The Philistines froze. Israel gasped. David stood over the fallen giant, took Goliath's own sword, and cut off his head. Victory belonged not to strength, size, or armor, but to faith. The Philistines fled. Israel surged forward in triumph. A shepherd boy became a national hero. And from that day, Israel remembered that their battles were never fought alone.